POV, YN. The rain outside the floor-to-ceiling windows is relentless, battering the glass like it's trying to break into the penthouse office to save me. Too bad I don't want to be saved. I want to get paid. I stare at the document on the mahogany desk. It's thick, heavy, and smells like legal fees and moral bankruptcy. The ink on the page is still wet, but the regret is already drying on my tongue. $5 million, Jungkook says. His voice is low, vibrating through the cold air. He's leaning back in his leather chair, spinning a Mont Blanc pen between his fingers like it's a dagger. He looks devastating. Sharp jawline, eyes dark enough to drown in a suit that probably costs more than my father's entire gambling debt. He looks like a fallen angel who crawled his way back up to hell just to run a Fortune 500 company. And all you have to do, he continues, his gaze lazy but lethal, is look at me like I hung the moon. I scoff, tossing the pen back onto the desk with a heavy thud. For $5 million, John, I'll look at you like you invented oxygen. I'll look at you like you're the last Wi-Fi signal on Earth. But let's get one thing straight. He raises a pierced eyebrow, the silver ring catching the dim light. I'm listening. I'm a crisis management specialist, I say, leaning forward. I don't fix problems, I bury them. But this is barely a cover-up. You're tanking because the board thinks a sterile CEO is a dead legacy. You're essentially hiring me to be a walking, talking incubator for a lie. I'm hiring you to be a distraction, he corrects coldly. Read Clause 14. I flip the page. Clause 14. The wife agrees to undergo simulated hormone injections and public fertility clinic visits to maintain the narrative. I look up at him, my lip curling in a sneer. You want me to get poked with needles for a PR stunt? You really are sick. Most men just buy a Ferrari when they're overcompensating. You buy a fake pregnancy. I'm efficient, he says, his voice flat. You're a parasite, I retort. My father's debt. The loan sharks are threatening to break his kneecaps by Friday. You clear the debt today or I walk. I don't care how many billions you have. You can't buy a womb if I'm not in it. Jungkook finally stands up. The air in the room doesn't just shift, it shatters. He doesn't walk around the desk. He prowls. He moves with a predatory grace that makes my heart hammer against my ribs. He stops inches from me, smelling like sandalwood and bad decisions. Consider the debt gone, he says, towering over me and blocking out the city lights. But if you sign this, YN, you belong to the narrative. You don't speak unless I tell you to. You don't leave the penthouse without security. You are Mrs. Gion first, and a human being second. You're a prop I've purchased. Act like it. I laugh, but it sounds brittle. Wow, threats. How vintage. Do I get a bonus if I pretend I actually like you? Or is your ego too fragile to handle the fact that I'm only here for the paycheck? You get to keep your father walking, he says, devoid of pity. Sign it. I pick up the pen, but I don't sign yet. I look him dead in the eye, my voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. One more thing. We don't touch. No oops, I slipped moments. No method acting in the bedroom. You have a reputation for being incapable downstairs anyway, right? So keep it in your pants. I'm not interested in being the one to find out if the rumors are true. The silence that follows is deafening. I can feel the heat radiating off him, a cold, sharp fury. POV, Jungkook. Incapable. The word hits me like a physical slap, but I don't flinch. I let the mask stay perfectly in place. She thinks I'm broken. She thinks I'm shooting blanks because nature cursed me. She has no idea that I'm the one cursing myself. Every morning I take a pill, a chemical suppressant that ensures the madness running through my father's blood ends with me. I'm not infertile. I'm responsible. I'm killing the legacy to save the world from another monster like the man who raised me. But she doesn't need to know that. She just needs to be the greedy, sarcastic little thing I hired. Careful, wife, I whisper. I reach out, my hand wrapping around her jaw. Her skin is warm, a stark contrast to the ice in my veins. I tilt her head back, forcing her to look at me. Her eyes are wide, trembling slightly, but she doesn't pull away. She's staring right back at me with a fire that I haven't seen in a long time. Believe the rumors if you want, I murmur, leaning down until my lips are brushing the shell of her ear. I feel her breath hitch, her pulse fluttering under my thumb like a trapped bird. But test me, and you'll find out exactly why they call me a monster. I might not be able to give you a child, but I can certainly make sure you never want to leave this bed. I tighten my grip just enough to be a warning, not a bruise. Are we clear? She swallows hard. Crystal. I let her go, stepping back as if her skin burns. Sign the paper, then get out of my office. You move in tomorrow at 800 hours. Don't be late, or I'll deduct your father's legs from your first installment. She signs it with a violent scribble. The scratch of the pen sounds like a prison door slamming shut. As she grabs her bag and storms out without looking back, the scent of her perfume, vanilla and defiance, lingers in the air. I turn to the window, touching the cold glass where my reflection stares back, hollow, rich, and alone. Welcome to hell, darling, I say to the empty room. Try not to get burned. POV, YN. Moving into Jungkook's penthouse feels less like a marriage and more like being processed into a high-security prison. It's 800 hours on the dot. I'm standing in the center of his living room, a cavernous, sterile space of white marble and black iron, holding a single suitcase that contains my entire life. The master suite is upstairs, a voice drones. It's a maid who looks like she hasn't smiled since the 90s. Mr. John expects your things to be unpacked and your presence at the dining table in 10 minutes. Tell Mr. John. I don't take orders from people who use 800 hours in a sentence, I mutter, but I follow her anyway. When I walk into the bedroom, my heart sinks. It's beautiful, sure. The bed is large enough to host a small village, covered in charcoal silk sheets that look softer than my future. But there's only one. One bed. I'm still staring at the pillows when the door clicks shut. I turn around to see Jungkook. He's leaning against the doorframe, his tie loosened, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle and a glimpse of a tattoo peeking from his wrist. He looks exhausted, but his eyes are still sharp enough to cut. Why is there only one bed? I ask, my voice echoing in the vast room. Security, he says simply, walking toward the walk-in closet. The staff are paid well, but J-In pays better for gossip. If we sleep in separate rooms, the infertile and unloved narrative returns. We sleep together. We wake up together. We stay in character. I grab a decorative pillow and hurl it at him. It hits him square in the chest. He doesn't move. He just looks down at the pillow, then back at me. Your side is the left, I snap, pointing. Cross the line, and I call HR. I don't care if we're supposed to be trying for a baby for the cameras. In this room, you stay on your side of the border. Jungkook starts unbuttoning his shirt. One button, two. He's smirking, that twisted, arrogant curve of his lips that makes me want to slap him and kiss him at the same time. He tosses the shirt onto a chair, revealing a chest that should be illegal. Honey, he says, his voice dropping an octave, scraping against my spine like velvet over gravel. I am HR, and trust me, I have zero interest in touching a woman who calculates her affection in billable hours. You're a business transaction, YN. Nothing more. Good, I hiss, turning my back to him to unpack. Keep that energy when you're snoring. The night is a disaster. The penthouse is silent, but the air between us is screaming. We're lying back to back, a literal canyon of silk between us. I'm staring at the city lights, thinking about my father, about the mess I've made of my life, and about the man breathing heavily 3 feet away from me. Suddenly the bed shifts. A low, guttural groan breaks the silence. I freeze. I look over my shoulder. Jungkook is thrashing. His face is pale, drenched in a sudden cold sweat, his eyes squeezed shut as if he's seeing something horrific. No, not again, he whimpers. It's the most human sound I've ever heard from him. Father, stop, please. He's having a nightmare, a bad one. His hand reaches out, grasping at the air, his knuckles white. Before I can think, before my contractual brain can stop me, I move. I slide across the border and grab his hand. Jungkook, I whisper, shaking him gently. Jungkook, wake up. It's a dream. His eyes snap open. For a split second, there is no CEO. There is no monster. There's just a terrified boy drowning in a memory. He looks at me, his chest heaving, his hand clutching mine so hard it hurts. YN? He gasps, his voice breaking. You're okay, I say, my voice softening. I reach up, my fingers brushing a damp strand of hair from his forehead. You're in the penthouse. You're safe. The moment hangs there, fragile, raw, and dangerously intimate. His gaze drops to my lips, and for a second I think he's going to break every rule we just wrote. My heart is thundering against my ribs, and I can feel the heat radiating from his skin. Then the mask slams back down. He wrenches his hand away from mine as if I'm made of acid. He sits up, his face hardening into a mask of pure ice. Who told you to touch me? He growls, his voice shaking with a mix of fury and shame. You were screaming, I retort, pulling back, my own anger flaring to hide the rejection I feel. I was trying to help, you ungrateful prick. I don't need your help. I don't need your pity, he says, sliding out of bed and grabbing a glass of water with trembling hands. He turns his back to me, his shoulders tense. Go back to your side, and don't ever look at me like that again. Like what? Like I'm someone who needs saving? He spits, his back still turned. I'm the one who saved you, remember? Now go to sleep. I lie back down, the silence now feeling heavier than before. He stays standing by the window, a dark silhouette against the glowing city, taking a small white pill from a hidden drawer before swallowing it dry. He thinks he's a monster. He wants me to think he's a monster. But I saw the way he looked when he was scared, and that's the most dangerous thing of all. POV, Jungkook. My hand is still shaking as I put the glass down. The pill, the suppressant, tastes like bitterness and failure. I can feel her eyes on my back, even though she's pretending to sleep. She touched me. She saw the cracks in the armor. I should have been more careful. I should have stayed in the office. Every time I close my eyes, I see my father's face, the way the madness took him, the way he laughed while the world burned. I can't let that happen to me. I won't. I look at YN through the reflection in the window. She's curled up, looking small against the vastness of the bed. She's sharp, sarcastic, and expensive, exactly the kind of woman I can handle. But that moment of kindness, that soft touch on my forehead, that's a red flag I can't ignore. I can't fall for the prop. I can't let her in. Because if she finds out what I'm actually doing to myself, how I'm systematically killing the John legacy from the inside out, she won't just leave. She'll realize she's married to a ghost. Stay on your side, YN, I whisper to the glass, my voice a ghost of a warning. For your own sake. The moon is high, and for the first time in years, the silence of the penthouse feels like it's suffocating me. POV YN. The morning air is thick with the smell of expensive leather and the suffocating tension of a lie about to go public. We are in the back of Jungkook's armored SUV, heading to the Seoul Fertility Center. I'm wearing a cream-colored silk dress, modest, elegant, the perfect hopeful mother outfit. Jungkook is next to me, scrolling through his tablet, his face a mask of corporate indifference. He hasn't looked at me once since the nightmare incident 2 nights ago. Remember the script, he says, his voice flat. We enter through the front. The paparazzi are already there. You hold my hand. You look slightly tired, but optimistic. If they ask about the IVF cycle, tell them we're taking it one day at a time, with a brave smile. I know how to lie, Jungkook. It's literally my job, I snap, adjusting my sunglasses. But can we talk about how ironic this is? You, the man who treats everyone like a bug under a microscope, acting like a doting husband, you might want to practice your loving face. Right now you look like you're headed to a funeral. He finally looks at me. His eyes are dark, guarded. In many ways, I am. The car pulls up. The flashes of cameras start before the door even opens. It's a frenzy. Jungkook steps out first, his hand instantly reaching back for mine. His grip is firm, too firm. It's possessive, a silent command to stay in character. As we walk up the steps, the shouting begins. Jungkook, is the rumor true? YN, are you doing this to save the company? Is the John legacy ending? Jungkook stops. He doesn't look at the cameras. He looks at me. He pulls me closer, his arm wrapping around my waist, pulling my back against his chest. It's so convincing I almost forget I hate him. He leans down and kisses my temple. We're just here to build our future, he tells the crowd, his voice projecting a warmth that doesn't reach his eyes. Please respect our privacy during this sensitive time. We burst through the clinic doors and the silence of the marble lobby hits like a physical weight. Jungkook drops his arm immediately. The warmth vanishes. Disgusting, he mutters, wiping his hand on his trousers. The cameras or the kiss? I ask, my voice dripping with sarcasm to hide the fact that my skin is still tingling where he touched me. Both. We are escorted to a private VIP waiting lounge. It's filled with soft lighting and brochures about miracles. We're supposed to wait for the doctor to consult us for the cameras, but the door swings open before the nurse can arrive. It's not the doctor. It's Jae-in. Jungkook's half-brother walks in like he owns the oxygen in the room. He looks like a cheaper, nastier version of Jungkook, smelling of expensive scotch, and even more expensive entitlement. Well, well, Jae-in draws, a mocking smirk on his face. The happy couple. I saw the show outside. Very touching, little brother. Really? Jungkook stands up, his entire body turning into a weapon. Get out, Jae-in. This is a private appointment. Private? You invited the whole world with those leaks. Jae-in laughs, walking closer, his eyes raking over me with blatant disrespect. But we all know the truth, don't we? You can play house all you want, but you're shooting blanks. Why waste the girl's time? Why waste the board's money on a broken engine? Jungkook's jaw clenches so hard I hear the bone pop. He's vibrating with a rage he's trying to suppress. He looks down at his hands, the shame of his secret. The pills he thinks make him sterile, paralyzing him in front of his bully. I feel a heat rise in my chest. Not the heat of attraction, but the heat of a predator protecting its own. I stand up, stepping between them. I'm shorter than Jae-in, but I make him feel small. Are you done? I ask, my voice a deadly quiet hum. Jae-in blinks, surprised. Excuse me? You heard me, I say, stepping into his personal space. I look him up and down with a sneer that would make a lawyer cry. You come in here smelling like cheap whiskey in a desperate midlife crisis, mocking a man who has accomplished more in a week than you have in your entire parasitic life. I'm the woman who manages crises, Jae-in. And right now, you're the crisis. I cut him off, my voice rising with sharp human sarcasm. You talk about blanks? The only thing blank in this room is your brain. At least Jungkook's legacy is in his blood, even if it's a struggle. Yours is just in the bottom of a bottle. Get out of my sight before I call the press back in here and tell them you're harassing a woman in a fertility clinic. How do you think that'll look for your stock options? Jae-in pales. He looks at Jungkook, then back at me, his mouth agape. He huffs a pathetic laugh, tries to regain his dignity and storms out, slamming the door. Silence returns. Heavy and thick. I turn around, my heart still racing from the adrenaline. Jungkook is staring at me. He isn't cold anymore. He looks shell-shocked. He's looking at me like he's seeing a person, not a prop, for the very first time. Why did you do that? He asks quietly. It wasn't in the script. I shrug, smoothing down my dress, trying to act like my hands aren't shaking. He was annoying me, and I don't like people touching my things. Even if those things are grumpy CEOs I'm fake married to. Jungkook takes a step toward me. The distance between us vanishes. He reaches out, not with a command, but with a question, his fingers grazing my chin. You defended me, he whispers. Don't get Delulu, John, I say, though my breath is hitching. I defended the $5 million. If you look weak, I don't get paid. He doesn't pull away this time. His thumb brushes my lower lip, his gaze intense, searching. For a second, the sarcasm dies. The lie dies. There's just the sound of the rain starting again outside and the realization that I might be in way over my head.